Swain, touchdown.
It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Give me 2 laps and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Thursday, December the 5th. I'm Jason Swain, live from the Low T Center studio. Man, there's a lot going on right now on Rocky Top. There's a lot going on Rocky Top. Shout out to the Lady Vols. Their game over Florida State was up 20 points. Florida State came back there in the second half, made it a really good game. The Lady Vols were able to still pull it out. If you're not watching the Lady Vols, if you're not paying attention to the Lady Vols, if they have forced you not to want to watch them over the last couple of years, I understand. I get it. Totally get it. But I think you might want to start paying attention. Now, I think they have earned your time. How hard they play, the style of play. I think you should come check them out. That's where me and the family got a chance to go last night. There at the Food City Center and watch the Lady Vols play. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247 will join us here momentarily. Tennessee basketball, the men's. I think we in position to be number one team in the country. Kansas ranked number 1. They lost to Creighton last night. Auburn on the road at Duke. They lost last night. Tennessee, the third team in the country according to AP poll. Number 1 according to the net ranking. But it's time for Tennessee to be number 1 in the country. So we'll get to that. Football. Time to rest. Time to reassess. Sunday, we'll find out where Tennessee is going to play. Will it be at home? More than likely, it's going to be on the road. You won't find me complaining too much about it. They want to put us on the road? Cool. They want to put us in Columbus? Cool. They want to put us in Happy Valley? Cool. We've done this show all football season. We've seen this football team play. Is our team a playoff team? Yes. Were there questions about whether or not this football team was a playoff team at times? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's also times at the beginning of the season when we knew this team could be a playoff team, was playing at a championship level. But in SEC play, offensively, we have not played great. So the same reason why the committee is dinging Miami for their close wins and then eventually knocking them out the playoffs when they lost their second game on the road to Syracuse, probably the same reason why we was getting dinged on the wins that we were getting throughout the season versus Florida, went to overtime. Was playing around with our food a little bit versus Kentucky. We won the games, but I don't fault anyone for having Tennessee on the road. I don't. I feel like I'm left out because everybody's complaining and everybody's upset about it. I can't get upset. Do I think the committee has knocked it out of the park and said everything and done everything right? No. I love the fact that people are torturing the committee. Players, other teams, torturing the committee. It's entertaining to me, but I can't sit here and pretend like the committee has done Tennessee wrong. Because I don't think they have. I would love to play at home. Give me a home game all day long. But I can't sit here and pretend like, oh man, Tennessee definitely should be at home. And I mean, hey, our resume is our resume. Ohio State, they got better wins than us. We shouldn't have lost to Arkansas. I look at Kentucky. And normally Kentucky's a 7-5 football team. Normally. And they've had some years here or there where they won 9, 10 games, still lost to Tennessee. But they've won 7 or so games, Ben. And that would have helped this year. You know who else would have helped? NC State. But they're terrible. We thought Oklahoma was going to be a little bit better than what they turned out to be. But they were not that good. Good enough to beat Alabama and not let Alabama score a touchdown, but still 6-6. But Tennessee can't control the record of the opponents. Only thing we can control is how we play in the games that we do play. So it's how you win. It's if you win. Did we win most of our games? Absolutely. Won 10 of those. But the how you win part, what's the dude from the Michael Jordan documentary? The white guy, the worker. Remember it was COVID? Everybody was locked in. Couldn't wait for that Michael Jordan documentary to hit, The Last Dance. And oh boy, as he was leaving the room, he said, that's kind of me. Like, I don't have any complaints about where Tennessee is right now in college football playoff ranking. So, my question to you, Ben, you ready to hit this road to Columbus? Happy Valley? You got your long johns? You got your gloves, your hand warmers? You ready, or you staying here in Knoxville? What's happening?
I'll be going as long as they let me in.
Let you in.
Well,
you Ben McKee.
I am Ben McKee, but I am not our primary football writer. And in these type of games, they can limit the number of credentials given out. So that may limit me, but I will be in the building. I'd be shocked if I'm not in attendance, and I am very much looking forward to experiencing an Ohio State home game or a Penn State home game. But I will push back on you a little bit, or not even push back.
Bring it.
I don't feel super strong about it, but I do disagree to a certain extent.
On what?
I think Tennessee has the better win. Ohio State has one more win that counts in that category because they have, 2 top 25 wins at the moment.
What are you arguing?
Beating Alabama is better than beating Penn State and beating Illinois. There are other, Tennessee has the better win of the two teams.
Ohio State beat
I think Alabama is better than Penn State. I think Penn State is overrated. I understand where they are ranked because of their record, but I don't think their record is indicative of how good of a football team they actually are. I think that they have kind of been skating by throughout the course of the season, winning by the skin of their teeth, which is fine. That's going to get you into the playoffs. But in terms of evaluating who is better, I would rather face Penn State than face Alabama. I think Alabama is a better football team than Penn State. I certainly think Alabama is a better football team than Illinois. So, yes, Ohio State has one more win in that top 25 win column than Tennessee, but I do think Tennessee's win is better. And I also think that I hate that we have to talk about it in this manner, the better loss. I think it's worse to lose to that Michigan team at home than it is to lose to Arkansas on the road at night. I do. So
I agree.
I don't feel strongly about it. I don't think it's a crime against humanity or anything along those lines. But I do think that Tennessee's resume is much better than people are giving them credit for.
Oh, is it better than Ohio State's?
When comparing it to Ohio State, yes.
Do you think it's better than Ohio State's?
Yes, I do. Because I think the Alabama win is equivalent to the Penn State and Illinois win.
And come on,
because I don't think those two teams are very good. And I think the loss is quote unquote better. Again, I hate talking in those terms because there's no such thing as a good loss, but unfortunately we have to talk about it in that manner when evaluating resumes. So I do think that Tennessee should be ahead of Ohio State because here's another thing. I feel like you should be judged on what you're doing at the end of the season more than you are at the beginning of the season. I don't think that we should completely ignore early season results like we tend to do at times, but your performances later in the year should have more weight to them than your performances early in the year. Because what's the goal throughout the course of the season? It's to get better. It's to be playing your best football going into the playoffs, theoretically. And right now, Tennessee is playing better football than Ohio State.
I mean, we can definitely say that right now Tennessee is playing better football because of what Tennessee was able to do in their last game and how Ohio State looked in their last game. But I mean, Ohio State's 2-1 versus top 10 teams. I mean, our resume is not better when you look at the numbers, the strength of schedule, the metrics.
It's very similar, is what it is,
but it's
and
not
it's
better.
not being talked about as being very similar.
It's not better. It's not better.
I disagree with that, but I don't. Again, I'm not up in arms about it. I'm not going to go on a Twitter rant like some have. I don't think it's the worst thing ever that has taken place. It makes sense. I just don't wholeheartedly agree with it.
I mean, if they got more top 10 wins and more wins versus top 25 teams, it's hard for me to argue that. I mean, it is. And so that's why I'm cool with saying, all right, let's go play in a row. Let's go do it. Cool.
Yeah, and that's
if
why I
Penn
don't.
State loses in the Big Ten championship game by a lot, or Texas beats up on Georgia by a lot, and we're able to host, I will be ecstatic. I want to host, but I can't sit here and pretend like it's unfair that Tennessee's in the position that they're in.
It's not unfair at all.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. Again, I kind of said that right from the jump.
Yeah.
I just think like there's a Big Ten flavor to this year's edition of the college football playoff rankings, and like that has mattered quite a bit. And I don't know that it should matter as much as it has up until this point, because I think a lot of those teams are being propped up by a record that I don't. When I watch them play, the record does not match what I'm watching on Saturday. So I'm interested to see how those Big Ten teams perform in the playoffs, because I would not at all be surprised if there's some early exits.
All right, let's get to the phones. Good morning, 865-255-03.
Good morning, guys. I'm kind of riding Ben's boat over there. I agree with Ben a lot of what he's saying. But I've got a question. Probably don't know the answer, but I feel like I do know that it will go Big Ten direction, because I do feel like there's a bias there. But what if Penn State gets boat raced in the championship game? I mean, I'm talking about gets boat raced. And what if Georgia, same thing happens to them? They're going to let Notre Dame sit right there in that spot, and they're not playing a championship game and be at 5, and all the bells and whistles have been, playing in championship that unscathed. Are they going to be? I'm at Notre Dame. I'm sorry, but
wait, you said Notre
You
Dame?
said Notre Dame.
I did say Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame's sitting right there at the 5 spot,
Yeah,
right?
they're not playing. They're not going to be moved. I mean, they're hosting a game.
Well,
Well, Turkey
I'm
Man
just
raises
saying,
a fair thought. Like if Penn State gets boat raced, if Georgia gets boat raced, is it fair for
What
Notre
happened?
Dame to leap those teams in that instance, having
Is
lost
it-
to Northern Illinois in September and not playing in a conference championship game? Should Notre Dame be able to reap the benefits of those two teams being blown out? Is what Turkey Man is asking.
Manuel said that if you're not playing this week, you can't drop or fall. Didn't he say that
well,
on
what he's
Tuesday?
saying, drop them out of
That's what he
drop
said.
them out of the playoff. They wouldn't be dropped out of the playoff. But
No, they're
doesn't
going to be
mean they-
hosting a playoff game.
Yeah, they're gonna knock them out. They just said that, but knock them down. Didn't say that they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he said
wouldn't
that
drop
teams that are not playing during championship weekend won't be able to move up or be punished moving down. And Notre Dame is in that category because they don't play in a conference.
That ain't how I read it, but
That's
hey,
what he said,
okay.
Turkey Man.
He wouldn't knock them out of the playoffs. They'd still be in
He
playoffs.
didn't
Doesn't mean
say
that
knock
they're
them
going
out. He said move up or down.
Well, what? Okay. Let's do another round. What if their quarterback? What if something happened to one of their quarterbacks in that game? And
I don't know.
I'm outside of Texas. Texas got a good backup, but what happens then? Because they've showed that in the past.
I don't know. That happened against Florida State, Turkey Man, and that was in a 14 playoff. This is a 12-team playoff. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen if a player gets hurt. This is the first year of the 12-team college football playoff. This is the first year of it. So we saw Florida State, what happened last year when their quarterback got hurt, and Florida State didn't look the same in their ACC championship game, and then they were replaced by Alabama. But we don't know about this year because this is the first year of the 12-team playoff. So I do not know. And we can do what ifs until we like blue in the face. We really can do that. And all we can do is go off of what Manuel said. All we can do is project based on the AP poll and all that good stuff, but I don't know about injuries. We don't have one example to point to. That was last year, but again, that was last year, 14 playoff. I'm not going to look at these records, these metrics, and I'm not going to ignore them. I'm not going to sit here and ignore them when it comes to football, but then in basketball, I'm going to be taking them in. Like Tennessee's number one team, according to the metrics, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, well, we're number one team. Look at football metrics and ignore them just because I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm not going to do it. It ain't happening. 865-200-5503. Here's the telephone number. We'll take our first early break of the program, and we'll come back after this.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. Thank goodness it's football time in Tennessee. When the Vols do well, Knoxville does too. There are so many great reasons to fall in love with East Tennessee, and if you're making a move to the area, I'd love to help you find your new home. Just give me a call at 865-694-5904 or check out my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and go Vols.
Fellas, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust. I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have noticed weight gain, loss of muscle mass, you may have low T levels. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Chevy truck season at Beatty Chevrolet means save on a new 24 Chevy Silverado 1500. Now $10,000 off MSRP plus 1.9% APR financing plus no payments for 90 days at Beatty Chevrolet in Knoxville.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
See what you did, Ben? I blame you. I blame you, Ben. It's your fault.
That's fine.
I blame you, man. Tennessee basketball team, they're going to be number one in the country?
It would appear so. I guess Duke was what, number 9 last night?
Duke was, I think so.
So I don't see Duke. Duke was number 9. I don't see Duke jumping that far to number 1
No.
after
We
the
aligned.
win. I think so. My only thought is, would the 4th or 5th team, number 5 lost last night too, Marquette, to number 6 Iowa State. I don't think Iowa State's going to climb that far. Tennessee's undefeated. Who's the number 4 team? Number 4 is Kentucky. They lost.
Yeah, they lost. 2 lost and 1 loss.
Yeah, 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no debate here
Yeah.
where Tennessee should be next poll.
No, not at all. Tennessee is, I think it's a fact that Tennessee will be ranked number 1 on Monday morning, which is a pretty cool thing. Pretty cool thing. Certainly a lot more to.
It's early, boy.
It is early. A lot to go. A lot can happen. This basketball team needs to continue to get better, and I'd rather be ranked number 1 towards the end of the season than in December. But it will be the earliest Tennessee is ranked number 1 in a season, and that is a heck of an accomplishment. And I said it on Tuesday morning before the Syracuse game that this team needs more attention, needs more appreciation, even if it is the end of football season and even if it is December. And I continue to feel that way. This team is not yet getting the support that it quite deserves, in my opinion, both from an attendance standpoint and a talking standpoint. So hopefully, I know it coincides with the college football playoff starting, and totally get that. But hopefully this team starts to be appreciated to the level that it is appreciated or should be appreciated. And number 1 doesn't mean a whole lot in December, but it is a really cool accomplishment for a program that isn't a blue blood in the sport. Just another bullet point on Rick Barnes' resume at Tennessee, and one that should be appreciated.
Yep. Clay says it sucks as we're not hosting, but if you told us at the beginning of the season that we'll be in the playoffs, all of us would have been over the moon hosting, or not. Does hurt Bama. Seeing Bama have the potentially easier path to the semis than us. Yeah, that's the thing they got to fix. Like, the seeding. The seeding is not favorable for Tennessee when you look at Bama's potential path. So I agree there. Turkey Man says if Penn State gets beat, your logic is they're gonna stay number 3 or 4, whichever they are. It ain't my logic, Turkey Man. It's what the chairman said. It's what Manuel said. He was asked a question from Reese Davis during the show. I'll encourage you to go back and listen to the show, Turkey Man. He asked the chairman, the AD of Michigan, the college football committee chairman, what happens to teams that lose in the title game? Or what happens to teams who are not playing? So it ain't my logic. I'm not on the committee. I'm just telling you what the dude that's on the committee said because I was paying attention. to what he was saying. So I'm not going to spend much time sitting here like Tennessee got done wrong. You watch this football team all season long. I'm happy that we're in the playoffs. I'm happy with how we're playing right now. Let's not forget about the Arkansas game. Let's not forget about the games in the SEC where we didn't play well, even though our defense played great at times. How about we have the mentality of Josh Heupel and Danny White? Do you hear Josh Heupel making excuses? Complaining, whining, getting on this conspiracy theory kick? Josh Heupel saying anyone, anywhere, anytime. Let's go. You see Danny White tweeting, posting graphics. we should be hosting. Please let us host. You see Danny White on Dan Patrick's show begging? Colin Cowherd begging? You know how good that makes us look? If we were sitting here and Tennessee was playing like we played against Vanderbilt more during the season, okay, we would have a different conversation. But some of y'all want to bench Nico during the season. What was that reaction, Ben? Am I lying over here?
See what happened was.
I'm just saying, man. Let's not be forgetting stuff now. So we're happy to win the playoffs because anybody that's in the playoffs, you have a chance to win a championship. But let's not act like Tennessee got screwed. We got one win versus Alabama. NC State stunk. Kentucky stinks. Oklahoma stinks. All these teams we've beaten, they stink. So it doesn't help our record versus top 10, top 25 teams. It is what it is.
And that's not Tennessee's fault.
It's
either.
not. But you could have played better when you won those games. That is Tennessee.
Yeah, that part is, but the committee also hasn't seemed to punish teams for the eye test as much this year.
They punished Miami.
They didn't really punish Miami until they lost this past. Yeah, because they lost to Syracuse.
But they have two losses like we have two losses.
Yes, but they haven't played. Their schedule is the metrics do not favor Miami.
I get it.
I'm not saying that the eye test doesn't matter. It just doesn't seem to be as much of a priority for this particular committee because you look at kind of what I was talking about earlier with Indiana and Penn State, Ohio State being higher in the rankings than I think they should be based on my eye test. The committee doesn't agree with that. They're just kind of looking at the win-loss record of those teams, which the win-loss record of those teams would indicate that they should be ranked where they are. But you watch them play on Saturdays, and they don't look like a top 5 team, a top 10 team.
Yeah, they look at Ohio State, who lost by, a point to Oregon on the road as number 1 team in the country. And then they lost to Michigan at home, which was a bad loss, but, I mean, that's their one bad loss. So we had a bad loss on the road. They had a bad loss at home. But, again, they still have better top 15, top 25 wins. Whether or not you think those teams should be ranked high, that's a can of worms and a rabbit hole. If you want to go down, you can. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not going to debate I'm not going to debate on whether or not Indiana should have been ranked as high as they were. I'm not doing that. They beat them. And so that's why they're ranked a little bit higher. And that's why we're traveling. So cool. Anytime, any place, anywhere, let's just go play. How about we just go worry about us and make sure that we're ready to play and do something we haven't done a good job of. That's play on the road against a good team and possibly doing it at night. That's what we should be concerned about. And I know we're not playing, so we can have these conversations, but I'm not on a conspiracy theory kick. I'm not on the victim kick. Tennessee had plenty of opportunities to play better this season.
They did, but I also do think both things can be true at the same time. I think you can have, as a fan, as a media member evaluating things, I think that you can have the mindset of what Josh Heupel preached yesterday in his press conference of anybody, anywhere, anytime, but also be annoyed by the process of how you are getting to the playoffs as well, because the process has been annoying at times. I do agree with what you just said about the Ohio State losses, and Tennessee's losses, but I also don't blame Tennessee fans for being annoyed with the fact that it seems like Tennessee's loss at Arkansas has been one of the primary talking points for Ward Manuel every Tuesday night when he's asked about Tennessee on the ESPN broadcast. And then I listened to the 30 minutes of him. The only time I haven't this year is this Tuesday night because I was covering the basketball game. It was at the same time, and I was at Thompson Bowling Arena, so I didn't get to listen. But every time he's asked directly about Tennessee, why is this team ranked ahead of Tennessee? Why is Tennessee behind this team? He immediately points to the loss at Arkansas. But when Ole Miss was in the picture, zero talk about their loss to Kentucky, which is one of the worst losses of the season. Alabama, why is nobody talking about how bad of a loss Alabama just suffered at Oklahoma?
Everybody's talking about that, Ben.
I have not seen that. Why are they in the playoffs? Still,
Ben,
people are still
everybody's
talking
been
about
ripping
that.
on Alabama. That they, I know I have too. That they shouldn't be in a
Okay, but
position
you don't
they're in
matter.
because they lost to Oklahoma the way they did. But again, like they got really good wins. Like they got a ton of top 10, top 25 wins. That's why they in. I hate it, but hey, it is what it is.
I didn't say Alabama should not be in. I agree that Alabama should be in over the teams that it is competing against. It seems like Miami is the team that's kind of going head-to-head for that final spot with Alabama.
Yeah.
I do think that Alabama should be in over Miami, but that's not my point. My point is you may be talking about it, but you don't matter because you don't have any say in the rankings. The people who are doing the rankings just seem to forget that Alabama lost at Vanderbilt, that Alabama lost at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a very bad team, and Oklahoma blew the doors off of Alabama. And when it comes down to seeding and ranking teams, and it's not just an Alabama thing. Again, the Michigan loss for Ohio State, the Kentucky loss for Ole Miss. There are bad losses that have been suffered by multiple other teams that just don't seem to be talked about as much, don't seem to be a talking point for the committee as much as Tennessee's loss to Arkansas is. So my point is, like, I don't blame Tennessee fans for being annoyed by that.
Yeah, before you joined, I said I love the fact that people rip it on the committee. Like, they have not done a good job. But as far as Tennessee is concerned, I don't have a problem with where we are and how they got to where they are versus Ohio State, because Ohio State, they have better wins than we do. They have more top 25 wins. I don't know how that is debatable when you look at those numbers. Now, you can, mind hump yourself and say, well, they shouldn't be ranked that high anyways. They're overrated. Okay, well, if you want to say that, you can, and you just deny the truth. But the truth is, when you look at their numbers, they have more top 25 wins. That's just the truth. It's the truth. And Tennessee can't help who you play, but you can help how you play. And it hasn't always been clean. And if you deny that, then I'm sorry, I just don't. We can just agree to disagree. Like, anyone watching Tennessee this year knows that we could have been better at times. We had people complaining after wins. And we had to come on here on a Tuesday and talk people off the ledge in a win, because people was dogging on the offense and the quarterback, and a lot of it was warranted. It was about surviving while continuing to get better, but it took a long time for us to play like we were supposed to play offensively. So if we saw that, I'm sure the committee saw that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and take up for all these other teams and make a case for them when it comes to the committee. I'm just talking about where Tennessee is placed. Like, I understand where Tennessee is and why they are where they are. Do I want to play at home? Absolutely. But I can't make a strong case for Tennessee to play at home over Ohio State. Like, that's all I'm saying. Not over Ohio State. I can't do that. And I know what happened with Bama. I'm not going to sit here and take up for Bama. I don't want to do that. But when you look at who Alabama is up against in terms of getting that last playoff spot, it's Ole Miss and South Carolina, right?
Yes, South Carolina, Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss seem to be the four that are kind of. I guess if SMU were to lose this weekend, then they would probably be in that conversation as well.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not here to take up for the committee when it comes to Bama being in and Miami being out or SMU potentially being out. That's fair. That's cool. I'm just talking about Tennessee's position. I understand why the committee has Tennessee where they are. That's all I'm saying.
No, and again, I'm with you, and like I don't think it's the worst thing ever. I just also don't blame anybody for being frustrated by the process. The process is also frustrating to me, and I'm not. When I say this, I'm not specifically talking about Ohio State, Tennessee. I'm just talking about the whole shebang, everything. Even the decisions that do not involve Tennessee. It feels like more often than not, from year to year, because there's not a consistent committee. It changes. I believe it changes every year.
Yeah.
And it just feels like they pick. I don't think that there's a bias, but I also don't know a better way to say what I'm about to say. It feels like it's just
subjective.
pick who they want to get in, and then they find reasons to justify putting that team in.
Yeah, I mean, Danny White said it a couple of days ago when he was on Sports Talk.
Yeah.
He said he wishes there was a more objective computer-based system to identify the deserving teams.
The process is very, very frustrating.
Yeah, like, it's subjective. And like, I agree with Danny White there. And so we thought it'd be better to go to a playoff from the BCS. It went from 4 teams, and we thought it'd be better to go to 12 teams. Here we are. And it's probably going to go to 16 teams. And so I guess you keep tinkering with it and hope it gets better. All right, let's get to the phones. Good morning.
Hey, guys, I'll get off real quick, but love you guys. But the top 4 spots, there'll be a change there, and it's got to go down. And the 12th spot, there will be change there because it done said the 4 winners of the championship take 1 through 4. The 12th spot will take about the 5th. So I'm saying that you got 3 teams that could be changed in that top 4, and it's going to be a change. That's the rule. They have to do that because they can't be where they're at because they're going to be replaced by champions. If Georgia wins, they're going to go in one of them top spots, and that's what I'm trying to say. There's going to be a change because the rules say they have to. I love you guys.
Turkey Man, you asked about the teams who were not playing.
No, I didn't. You misunderstood me. Misunderstood me. I was saying there's going to be a change. There has to be. And one way or the other, up or down. They're not going to leave, but they ain't going to move them out except that 12 spot. 12 guys gone. Whoever there's gone. That's the rule.
Okay. And we'll see what happens on Sunday, Turkey Man.
All right, buddy.
I'm going to go to the text box. Tony says, at this point, we just need to play the game and win so convincingly that it puts the whole community logic on notice. Yeah. But, I mean, we had 12 games to build a resume. We had 12 games to do whatever we're going to do. Now, you can play better to this point moving forward. Like, cool. Like, you want to be playing your best ball at the right time. In Tennessee, for the first time in a couple of weeks, had an offensive performance versus Vanderbilt where you have multiple explosive plays. That's what this offense was missing versus Mississippi State, versus Kentucky, versus Oklahoma, versus other teams who played in the SEC. If you can get those type of explosive plays with the defense, hey, man, we in business, folks.
Yes, absolutely. To Tony's message on the text box on a thought separate to Tennessee from a just playoff selection committee standpoint, they are not prioritizing strength of schedule the way that I think it should be prioritized. And they're honestly showing that strength of schedule does not matter, quite frankly. And so to Tony's point, if this committee all along, and that's where a lot of the frustration stems from, a lot of what I've said this morning, I believe a lot of what Tennessee and SEC fans feel is that 11-1 Indiana should not be viewed as the same or better than 10-2 Tennessee, 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3 South Carolina, 9-3 Alabama. Like that should not be viewed the same because the metrics are so different. Because Indiana's strength of schedule was so poor, whereas these SEC teams, their strength of schedule was so much greater than. It should not be weighted the same, and that's what this committee has done the entire time with those Big Ten teams. So to Tony's point, if there are SEC Big Ten matchups in the playoffs, Tennessee and Penn State, Tennessee and Ohio State, and if there's other SEC Big Ten matchups along the way, and the SEC is able to really blow the doors off of those Big Ten teams in those matchups, I mean, I do agree with Tony that would really give the middle finger to the committee and win so convincingly that it puts the committee's logic on notice. It really would if that took place.
Yeah, but okay.
What did you disagree with?
No, Tennessee has been playing pretty much the same way all season long in SEC play. And so if we play better in the playoffs than we have all season long, I don't know if that sticks the middle finger up at the committee. That's all I'm saying.
No, I get that.
Like
for sure.
If you play all season like you play against Vanderbilt, and then you get the same spot that we have right now, and then you go on the road and you play the same, or if not better, then okay, you have a point. But like we just had a great game against Vanderbilt offense defense. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
I totally get that.
Yeah. Right.
But even with Tennessee not passing the eye test to the way that it should have this season at times, like it was still a more difficult challenge for Tennessee throughout the season than some of those Big Ten teams faced.
Yeah, fair. I mean, hey, we played Georgia, we played Alabama.
Like
outside of those teams, the other teams we played wasn't that good. They turned out to be not that good. So,
on a neutral site, would you take Florida over all three of those Big Ten teams we keep mentioning? Would you pick Florida on a neutral site to beat Ohio State or Penn State today? I would.
No.
I would. I think on a neutral site, I would pick Florida to beat both those teams.
But the games have to matter. Like we can't do if this team plays this team, who you think will win? Like at some point we gotta say, all right, who won the games that were played?
Yes, absolutely. But my point is, like, it took overtime to beat that Florida team, and like at the time, it was looked upon as like, oh, Tennessee not passing the eye test, Tennessee not playing great football. In hindsight, like that was a tough, really gritty win for Tennessee. That there was no shame in hindsight in their performance. I mean, it took everything it had to knock off Florida.
I'm going recruiting here.
Are you going to reference QC Rodney's the other McKee's message at 8:38? Just wanted to say congratulations for making it almost 40 minutes without mentioning David Sanders this morning. Now we can say we made it 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes without mentioning David Sanders.
So you had some signings yesterday. One of those was not David Sanders Jr., who's committed to Tennessee. There's recruiting people that feel like Tennessee is in a good position. I'm not going to be put on this emotional roller coaster. If a young man wants to play at Tennessee and he's going to get paid handsomely, like the number is big, and if he does not want to play at Tennessee, like, I'm not about to be freaking out and worrying. David Sanders was committed for weeks. I've seen him and his family at so many games. All of a sudden, starts taking visits again, goes to Ohio State. There's talks about him possibly going to Ohio State again. Didn't happen. Like, I'm not about to stress myself out. You want to play or not want to play? That's between David Sanders, his family, and the collectives of Tennessee. Like, but he has not signed yet. Do I want him to come here? Absolutely. He's a great player. Tennessee needs great players like him to win. I've enjoyed his interviews. I've enjoyed following him. I think he's handled himself very, very well. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of what's going on right now. But, hey, that ain't my business. But Tennessee got some really good players yesterday. Got a couple flips too, huh, Ben?
They did. It was everybody's flipping this time of year. I don't, if flips have always existed, obviously, especially around signing day, there's an uptick, but it seems like every school, every prominent school suffered their fair share of negative flips, but also maybe picked up a flip or two. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the window, the time in which kids are allowed to sign. I don't know if it's NIL at the last minute for some kids, which I'm sure is a thing, of course. But it seems like, even though like this has always been a thing, obviously, but it seems like there's an uptick in flips throughout the sport and throughout all of the prominent schools this calendar cycle. But I do think, as long as David Sanders Jr. does end up in the boat, as most still think that he will, I think overall it was a net positive. You did not want to lose Shady Hayward. There's no bones about that. Just that one was a tough development for Tennessee. But, you know, Tim Merritt is somebody that they were on for a very, very long time. You flip him from a prominent school in Miami, and that's a big win. You get Isaiah Campbell, who is basically a 5-star. I mean, we have him ranked as the number 34 overall player in the country, and we only give out 32 5-stars. So he was right there at the cutoff of being a 5-star, and was once committed to Clemson. So that's a big win. What's that?
So you're a 4-star?
Yes, Mr. Mr. Literal, Captain Literal.
I'm just saying. I'm just wondering, man.
Yeah, yes, Captain Literal. He is a 4-star. That's why I said fringe 5-star, because he's right on the doorstep of being one.
No, he's a good. He's a hell of a player, man.
He is. That was a big pickup for Tennessee yesterday. Jaden Perlotti, a little bit of a funky recruitment, and but that's another big pickup for Tennessee. So overall, I think it was a net positive. I was thinking about this while I was taking the kiddos to daycare this morning. What's your grade for the class as it stands today, after all of the developments up to this point have taken place? I guess you have Onis Conanbanny, who doesn't appear like he's going to sign this week. The 4-star corner doesn't look like he's going to end up at Tennessee. Not to say that one's over, but that one just seems to be trending away from Tennessee by the day. We'll see what ends up happening there. Onis and David Sanders are really the only two left out there unanswered. But assuming David does sign with Tennessee, what would your grade be? I think mine would be a B plus, A minus, somewhere in that range.
I'm going B minus.
Why?
Because Tennessee overall is 10, correct?
That they were 10 before Isaiah Campbell and Jaden Perlotti had announced their commitments. I have not checked.
I'm looking at GoFoss 247. 10. Okay.
Yes, they're 10.
Where are we in the SEC? How you navigate y'all's site?
By clicking on the SEC tab.
I don't see it.
They are 7.
All right, so that's why.
The tabs are right above the number 1 team. If you scroll up a little bit, they are 7th.
That's
they're
why.
They're behind Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, and Texas A&M.
That's why B minus. Because it's not necessarily about where you rank nationally. It's about where you rank versus the competition you play every single week. So Tennessee is just completed the 4th regular season. Is 7th in the SEC worth an A minus? No, not to me.
But B minus does feel a little harsh. Top 10
You gotta have
class.
You gotta give yourself some
talent.
You gotta give yourself some room. So if we're calling this a B plus, what are we gonna call a class that is top 5 in the SEC?
An A.
So what? An A?
Well, and
but I'm skipping past the B plus. So for me, if you're top 5 in the SEC, I'm gonna go B plus. If you top 3 in the SEC, I'm gonna go A. So that's why I say B minus, because I've already kind of put the levels in my head. You top 5 in the SEC, all right, B plus. You top 3, A minus, A, whatever. But I think a B minus is fair.
Yeah, I can hear you on a B for sure. Again, I think B minus is a little harsh, but I also it matters. But to me, I'm not saying that they get a. I'll settle on a B plus. Like I'm not saying they're getting a B plus because they're the number 10 recruiting class in the country, which is nothing to scoff at. It is number 7 in the SEC, but number 10 overall recruiting class in the country is nothing to scoff at. I'm looking at it because I think they are bringing in a lot of talent. I think they filled a lot of positions of need. They're bringing in one of the better quarterbacks in the country. They're bringing in 2 running backs that seem to really fit the system. If you land David Sanders Jr., you needed to add a tackle, and you added one of the best in the country. You added 2 tight ends that really seem to fit your system. At receiver, Travis Smith Jr., pretty electric with the football. Rodarius Jackson, I really like his game. He's been playing in Chattanooga his senior year, but he's from West Tennessee. Along the defensive line, I really like what you did along the defensive line with the addition of Isaiah Campbell. And I mean, you bring in 5 defensive linemen. Are we really going to doubt what Rodney Garner's, who he is bringing in at linebacker? 3 really, really strong linebacker additions. And in the secondary, Tim Merritt saves face a little bit after the Shady Hayward flip. So there's I would have liked to see another true tackle body that stands out. Not David Sanders level, has to be whatever David is ranked at the moment, like number 3 overall player in the country, but like a top 100 tackle like you had in Doug Utu, like another guy and like that would help raise that grade, and maybe some more help in the secondary as well. But I mean, overall, I think it's a really, really good class. And to me, really, really good is like B plus.
Yeah, I think it's a good class. I think it's a good job.
It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I think I really like how they manage recruiting the high school ranks, laying the foundation for adding to the program. And then I feel like now they will go through and see the spots where maybe they feel they don't have enough or where they feel light, and then they address those needs through the portal. I think that's exactly how you should play it.
Yeah, I'm just giving myself some room for improvement. That's all. And I feel like, so if anyone have a problem with me going B minus, here's the reason why I said B minus. When I look at the top teams in the SEC, I see Texas, Alabama, and I see Georgia. Well, Tennessee should be up there. Tennessee is third in the SEC this year on the football field. So if you're winning games, how many times have we heard, oh, in the first year Pruitt and Butch, or first year Hyper, first year Kiffin, Dooley. When you start winning, recruiting will take care of itself and you'll be up there at the top in the conference. Well, we're third in the conference in the standings, but seventh in the conference in recruiting. I just think we should be higher. Auburn shouldn't be 3 spots ahead of us. And I'm not taking the rankings for gospel. I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But there's room for improvement. There's room to be better. And that's why I go B minus, because if you were better, I would go B plus. If you were better than that, I'll go A minus. So B minus to me is pretty good, considering that you're 7th in the SEC. How many times have we seen Tennessee be 11th or 12th nationally, but in the middle of a pack in the SEC? We know that's not good enough. Like we can't sit here with a straight face and pretend like middle of the pack in the SEC is good enough. Come on, y'all, we know better. We know better, but gotta go to the portal. That's why development is important. That's why culture is important. Very important. All right. Adam Carter says B minus isn't harsh when the offensive linemen that are being brought in won't see the field. I say that because we got to show that we can recruit and develop. Yeah. I'm not even talking about what happened in the past.
Two different things.
Yeah, I'm not talking about what happened in the past.
Recruiting them.
Because what happened.
Recruiting them and developing them are two different skills. Like you can.
Yeah.
Like the point is absolutely fair, but how they develop them once they get on campus has nothing to do with their ability or the grade that they get in terms of being able to get guys.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ding them for the lack of development on the offensive line in the past. Like that doesn't have anything to do with my recruiting grade for this class. So remember Tuesday we were talking about Casey Concepcion, the kid from NC State, and everybody was like, come on. And I was like, how about that dude from Arkansas, Armstrong? Well, Kentucky just had a dude in the portal that you should be talking about more than Casey Concepcion, and that's Dane Key. Because that boy is a baller. When you look at his game, it reminds me of Cedric Tillman. Because 50-50 balls. How many times, Ben, have you watched Kentucky play and Dane Key's catching a 50-50 ball?
When I watched them play, I did not go out of my way to watch them play much this year outside of the Ole Miss game that they won and obviously playing Tennessee. But when I have watched him play, he often catches 50-50 balls.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he did it against us. He caught tough ball. Like, he's been doing it ever since he's a freshman. He did it to Florida. He's been doing it his whole entire career. Now, I don't know if Tennessee's going to talk to him. I just think Tennessee should. I think he's one of the best receivers in the portal. He's not a small dude. He's a dude that can make plays when you don't have to scheme him up to be open. Like, Josh Heupel's a great coach, but let's not put too much pressure on Josh Heupel by giving him guys or him going out and getting guys that he has to scheme up to get open. How about you just get open? Because you got skills and talent. How about you make the coach look good? Like,
that would be nice.
We're not sitting here going, man, that boy Rick Barnes is the reason why Chancellor is such a great shooter. He's a baller. No, Chastaneer's making Rick Barnes look good because Chastaneer's good. That's the whole purpose of recruiting, to make you look better as a coach. So give me a dude like Dane Key. That's who I like. But he's from Lexington. This man is from Lexington, went to Kentucky. He would never be able to go back home if he transferred to Tennessee. And that's okay. You don't have to go back home, Dane. You don't have to go back home because you're an NFL
Find a new
receiver.
home.
You don't have to go back to Lexington.
We'll get you hooked up with Jennifer Morris. She'll get you a,
Exactly.
she'll get you a house in North Knoxville. We can get you set up in Powell if we need to. I looked at some very nice houses in Powell that you can get right on. What is it? It's not 65.
75.
75.
Yeah.
We shoot you right out there on 75 at the Powell exit next to that Kroger. There's no doubting Dane Key's ability. My question would be, how does his personality fit in? Because there was always some rumblings about him and Barryon Brown potentially being headaches. I know Barryon is
I would be a headache if I was playing in Kentucky too.
I know, I get it, but Barryon was like a headache coming out of high school, and that's why Tennessee passed on him coming out of high school to a certain extent, quite frankly. So I would need to ask those questions, obviously, if I'm Tennessee. And there's nothing wrong with a guy having some stuff to him, but it just can't be over the top. It can't be too much to where it can't be Gerald Mincey level to where everybody in your position room hates you and wants to fight you every single day. It can't be at that level. So if he checks those boxes and you're comfortable bringing him in, then I'm all for it, because I think Dane Key would probably be your best receiver the moment he steps foot on campus, unless Mike Matthews takes an incredible leap this offseason, which I suppose is possible. But from the moment he steps foot on campus, if he were to come to Tennessee, I think he'd be the best receiver.
Ben, let me ask you a question, man. What was the last DM you sent me?
Who knows? I know I sent you one about the high school signee that was going around at Eastern Michigan yesterday that went viral for his name.
Not that one.
I know I sent you some Mike Tomlin propaganda.
Okay. What was the last one you sent me about your receiver?
Mike Tomlin talking him off the ledge after the pick six that happened in Cincinnati this past weekend because the refs didn't throw a flag when they should have.
So I agree with you. You got to get players in here that are not locker room killers. But if you think you're going to win in the SEC with a bunch of choir boys, a team full of them, you are sadly mistaken. You have to have the ability as a staff to be able to work with players that have some baggage like Mike Tomlin is able to do. Like, you got to. Like, you can't have too many knuckleheads. You can't have the wrong knucklehead. But you got to have just a little bit of oomph about you. But if you have the right coach that can manage them or manage those type of players, you're missing out on getting good players. That's not a kid problem. That's a you problem. Sometimes. So, last time I checked, this is SEC football and not band camp. No,
I totally agree. Again, as long as you don't feel like he's Gerald Mincey, personality-wise, then I'm all for it if I'm a coach. And look, I think it's more than fair to question Kelsey Pope's ability to develop receivers in terms of their individual game. There's not been a lot there the last 2 years, if we're keeping it real. But I do feel confident in Kelsey Pope's ability to manage personalities. My questions with Kelsey Pope at the moment have more to do with on the field X's and O's, the getting better as a receiver, not necessarily him managing personalities. He seems to be able to do that.
All right, let me get to the phone before you get us in trouble. Good morning.
Good morning. How we doing today?
What's up, man? It sounds like Justin in Florida.
It is.
Okay.
How we doing?
What's up? Good, man. Hope you are too.
Nothing. Yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. So if we were to bring in a wide receiver or even two, I'm not saying that's what like they're planning on doing, but I'm saying if we were to bring guys in from the portal, who's sitting next year?
I think we'll have to see some guys leave for us to go out and get two guys in the portal.
I mean, there's three
Or
guys
if you bring in one, let's just say you bring in one, who's not starting?
The person that ain't making no damn plays. That's who's not starting. Like at some point, the cream has to rise to the top, and if you ain't making plays, then you're not gonna play. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, and Justin, right now, who would you say is guaranteed to play at receiver? Mike Matthews, Squirrel White, Chris Brazzell. I mean, outside of those three, am I forgetting somebody who you know is going to be right in the thick of it? So, I mean, you need bodies, quite frankly.
Yep, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And I assume there's going to be some fat trimmed off the bottom of that room.
Yep, agreed. But which of those three sit?
Well, first of all, I think that's kind of part of the issue. You shouldn't just have three and a bunch of other dudes sitting. Like, you got to get more receivers involved. You got to play more dudes. And a good sign this past Saturday was our offense having explosive plays without needing tempo. That was a good sign because you were able to rotate guys in and out. So it was more about concept, scheme, execution more than just relying on tempo, which tempo is part of the scheme. But you didn't need tempo. And I think that's a good thing for Tennessee's offense moving forward is if you rely on tempo, that means less receivers are playing. And less receivers are playing, that's not attractive to top high school receivers. It's just not. And the guys that you currently have, it's going to be hard to get those guys in. So if our offense can mix in tempo and not be dependent on it, then you have the ability to play more dudes on the outside and let them fight it out. Let them battle it out. Let them compete. And if you are not consistent, if you're not better, then you don't start. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, I know that's the way it's supposed to work. Do you think that's the way it's been working so far?
Justin, I don't know what the hell is going on this year. I don't know what was going on this year, man. Because I hold Justin, your most explosive receiver hasn't started and has had to rotate with other dudes at the same position. Like the fact that Dante Thornton and Brazzell was rotating in and out blew my mind. So don't get me started, Justin. Don't get me started this morning.
All right. I'm going to hang up and listen to the rest of this show. You guys have a great day.
Don't get me started, Justin, man. Thank you.
Well, and to Justin's question about which receiver sits, the past 2 years would indicate that the transfer receiver that they bring in is going to be the one that sits.
Well, I have more questions than answers when it comes to the group, but the group played well against Vanderbilt, and I know Dante has had some bad luck this season staying healthy, so that may be a part of why he was rotating in and out. But if he's been healthy and he's been rotating in and out with someone who has not been as productive as him, I need answers. That don't make any sense to me. But Dante has been really good. What's weird?
He's been their best receiver.
Yeah.
He's been their best receiver.
He has been. What's weird is that I said this on Tuesday. It may not mean anything, but it happened. And that's the fact that the receiver group was like awesome without your leader of the group, Brew McCoy. And we didn't see a lot of Squirrel either. At least I didn't. So Brew didn't play. They didn't see a ton of Squirrel like we normally see. And the receiver group was good. That could mean nothing. That could just be a coincidence that, hey, those guys that played balled out. That was Brazzell's best game. Because there's times when Brazzell would, not bring in passes in tight coverage. And so we'll figure it out. Brian Hunsucker, Swain, remember, recruiting rankings are objective. The guys making these rankings are coaches. I know they do a good job, but they make a lot of mistakes. Look at Jamal McCoy. He was ranked 1,500 ranked player in the country. Now he's All-American and will be a first-round pick. Yeah. When you are comparing one player that was missed ranked, because I asked Jamal McCoy, I asked him how did he end up at Oregon State. It was right before our post-game interview. We had some time before I got him on. I asked him, hey, man, how'd you end up at Oregon State? He told me he can do a lot of camps. He was committed to, I think he said, I forgot what school he was. I wouldn't make it up. But he's committed to one school. Some fell through. And then he went to Oregon State. But it's hard to compare one player that was not ranked properly versus an entire class. These experts can't be wrong about the entire class. They might be wrong about some here and there in each class. It's different than saying, okay, the sites have this one player who's a 3-star underranked and he blows up. And then we go, oh man, the recruiting rankings are wrong. That happens. But when we look at an entire class, a class of 24 who signed a letter of intent, and we say this class with 26 commitments is ranked 7th in the SEC, not all of the guys can be misses by the recruiting services. Not all of them. So that's why I look at the team rankings versus other SEC programs. And although I take all of it with a grain of salt, it does mean something more to me. Because typically, you can go back and look at it. My man Hunsucker, go look at the last 10, 15 years of teams that were top of the SEC in recruiting. Those teams typically won a lot of games. That's the correlation. Hope that makes sense. Nelson says, please start. I said, don't get me started on the receivers. Nah, man. They got to figure it out. It's amazing that we're in this position with how the receivers played this year. Dude, that means we coached the hell out of our offense. Dylan Sampson was amazing. We figured it out, man. We found a way to get to this point.
Why does he keep fumbling?
Not securing the football at the end of the run when he's fighting for yards. He's about to go down. That's why.
Can't happen the rest of the season. Stating the obvious there.
Yep.
And he knows that. You know that. Everybody listening knows that.
Everybody knows that. Everyone who watches football knows you can't fumble the football.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But it's especially highlighted. You can overcome it against Kentucky, Vanderbilt, in games like that. But if you do it on the road at Ohio State, at Penn State, in a playoff game, it's going to be even more difficult to overcome, and could be the difference in the football game.
Yeah, can't fumble it. You can't turn the ball over, period, but you dang sure can't fumble it. And, Dylan Jr., he understands that, knows that. He's fighting for yards, but at the same time, you can't do it. It's like when Pig Howard dove for the end zone and fumbled against Georgia. What was that, 13? It's like, hey, man, we appreciate your effort, but you can't fumble the football. Just because you're fighting hard for extra yards doesn't give you the right to fumble the football. So he knows that. He knows it. Nathaniel says on 3, sorry, Ben, this is what Nathaniel said. The 25 class has the highest blue chip ratio and highest average recruiting rating of any class under Heupel so far. I don't think I can get behind a B- unless you are rating previous classes under Heupel worse than B-. Part of my grade is in comparison what the teams you compete against and what they're doing, too. So if you looked at the previous year and Heupel did a better job versus the opposition, then the class could be ranked higher. So you can have your own metrics of what you deem important to your grade, and I can have mine. The class is good, but I'm not going to argue up and down Nathaniel about a B- and a B. Mine's a B-. We 7th in the SEC. We got a lot of 3-stars. We're a team that's in the college football playoff. If you want to take it a step further, I thought we should have recruited better after we went 11-2 versus Clemson. Because normally when you have that type of record, the recruiting classes usually reflect that. I'm not saying that to complain. I'm just telling you how I'm thinking. And we acting like a B- is bad. It's 7th in the SEC. You are 5th in the SEC. I'm going higher. You're top 3 in the SEC. I'm going higher than that. I'm giving myself room to grade higher. So if you want to give them an A right now, and then they're 5th in the SEC, you want to give them a freaking 4.0 GPA, or you want to give them higher than A+, then you can do that. But I think a B- is pretty good. I don't think it's bad. All right, you want to get something straight? Oh, never mind. My bad. I'm tripping. Let me get to the phones. I saw like the beginning of your text. It was a copy and paste that you said.
I sent. You can revisit it if you want, but I sent you exactly what Ward Manuel said about teams who are not playing this week cannot jump others who are not playing this week. So Tennessee's ranked ahead of Indiana. There's no possible way that Indiana can jump Tennessee because neither team is playing this week.
Yeah. Let's get to the phones. Good morning.
If you are 7 out of 16, a B- is generous.
I thought it was
have
good.
A top 10 recruiting class in the country.
Oh gosh.
Top 10 nationally, but if you're 7 in your own conference, come on.
Out of 16 teams, that's also
That's damn near 50%.
I don't know about y'all, but to me, a B- is very average.
Generous.
Would you agree with that?
Average.
What is your view on B-? I kind of view it very similar to a C+, very average, right?
B- is a B-. A C is a C.
Oh my God! Did you all both go to school in Huntsville? Really?
I went to Huntsville. I went to Grissom, a top 10 school in Alabama. I don't know what Ben talking about.
Oh, the top 10 school that has guidance counselors that turns their students into the NCAA. Oh, okay.
Fear the deer, more like fear the SAT score.
I'm sorry. You went to Carnes High School? Like, pipe down.
No,
listen, man. A B- is a B-. A C is a C. Like,
it's average. Is what it is.
B- is not average.
It
B-
is in my book.
is above average.
Your book is wrong. A C
My
is
book
average.
Right. It's a top 10 recruiting class. Like, I think y'all are being a little too harsh.
So I'm being harsh now.
I said that earlier.
7th in the SEC, B-, that's harsh.
7th in the SEC is still really good. Not good enough, but it's still really good.
Which is a B-. Good, but not good enough.
My rating scale is.
Bro, you.
Go ahead.
I wish I'd have you. I wish I'd have Ben as a teacher.
Goodness gracious. I know, right?
I'd have better grades.
For doing a good job, you would have gotten a good grade. Absolutely.
Hey, a B- is like a C.
In my head, it is.
Well, okay. That explains it.
It's not good enough.
It's not.
B- is not good enough.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough. You're right. B- is not good enough.
It's average.
So do you? Okay.
Yeah, the recruiting class is good, but it's not good enough, Ben. Thank you. You said it for me. It's good. It's really good, but it's not good enough.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
He slid right into that. I love it. Guys, one of the things that has frustrated me about this offense for the entire season is, with the exception of Dylan Sampson, and even he had fumbled, there has not been a consistency with every group on the offense. It's either the receivers had a bad week, Nico had a bad week, the line had a bad week. With the exception of those cupcake teams, and can't believe I'm saying this, with the exception of those games, that the offense is not, they haven't all been running on all cylinders. And that's our problem. They're not working together.
Yeah, it was our problem for sure. It was. I mean, if Tennessee is able to play like they play against Vanderbilt versus Ohio State or versus Penn State, then we in business. But you can't let the offensive inconsistencies rear its ugly head again. Like you have to have all your groups playing well. And outside of the fumble, the running backs played well. The receivers played well.
Yeah.
Offensive line absolutely dominated. I've never seen
receivers have the
Coach
game.
act the way he acted over a game like he did against Vanderbilt with our offensive line.
Yeah. The receivers still had a couple games where they were just not in sync.
Correct.
So, oh my goodness. Well, guys, once again, I appreciate the time on the Nega Swain event. See you, bye.
I guess so. Man, my kids better not bring home no B-, man. They gonna be on punishment.
Doesn't sound like it the way you propping up a B- this morning.
Now I'm saying, according to you, because a B- is a C.
It is. It is not good enough. It is average.
A B- is a B-. A B- is not average, Ben.
It is to me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Let's see. I'm trying to see what's on the text box that I can read on the air. Oh my goodness. Oh, Cam Tennessee Vol says still didn't land an elite guy in secondary or running back. Okay, that's fair.
By the recruiting rankings, you did not, but Dylan Sampson was.
But we don't know
very
that
similar.
Yet. We don't know that yet.
What's that?
I said we don't know who's elite or not yet.
That's where I was going with my point, is that DeJuan Morris is not ranked very high to signal that he is an elite player, but he's very comparable to what Dylan Sampson was coming out of high school, and Dylan Sampson is now an elite player. So who's to say that you didn't land an elite player at running back or in the secondary? There's just no way of knowing right now.
I guess we'll find out. But it's okay for Cam Tennessee Vol to say what he said about right now not landing an elite guy. Like if you have a player and what's there, like 3 recruiting rankings now, 3 or 4, and there's a general consensus with those 4, and he's ranked as a 3-star, like, okay. A lot of people say he's not elite, but if he proves them wrong, you can always go back and revisit and go, okay, these dudes was wrong about this one particular player. I don't know if the recruiting services are all that wrong about a whole entire class, but individual players, yeah, they get it wrong all the time. All the time. Wrong about 5 stars who play like 3 stars, and 3 stars that play like 5 stars later. So let me go back to the phones. Good morning.
Yo.
What's up?
What do, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's up, Jamel?
Man, Ben, you used to get whoopings for getting B minuses, huh?
No, I didn't
You
get
used to get whoopings for getting B minus or something.
No, but I was.
You made all
I did
A's,
not
didn't you?
get whoopings for B minus, but I was always asked why did you not do better?
Really? Dang.
Yes,
That
because the
must be
goal is to make A's, not B minuses.
dang. I didn't know that. That's fire though. I mean, I guess that's
I
a
like
pushing
B
analogy.
minus.
That's a
Like
great.
the grading scale that I grew up on was like 2 points away from a C, which again is average. So if you're closer to average than you are elite or very good, then why are you going to be okay with a B minus?
Oh, that's you was you all star? Was you made star roll every year or something?
No, I didn't. I did not make good enough grades in high school.
I said you must use the crowd when you got a B minus then. That's wild.
I mean, do you not expect your children and kids to get A's?
I expect my kids to do well. Like some of this stuff is kind of, you know what I'm saying. School is different, man. I mean, as I've raised a 21-year-old and a couple other kids, I expect my kids to do well because they're not going to excel in every aspect and every, you know what I'm saying, class. You know what I'm saying. I mean, there's
1,000%.
kids that do.
All right.
What's the geniuses? But anyway,
what you got about sports?
I mean, it's student athletes. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It comes before sports.
Student
anyway.
athletes, really?
Yeah, and I didn't say B minus was bad or failing. I mean, I didn't say like anybody deserves to get whooped or anything. I certainly did not get whooped for B minus. It was not communicated to me that I failed or did bad or anything along those lines. But like it was okay. This is fine. This is good. But why didn't you do better?
That's up. All parents should be like that. I always push my kids, but yeah. Anyway, back to sports. So we're struggling at receivers getting open and things of that nature. Aren't they running like 3 routes, 4 routes?
More than that, Jermaine.
Huh?
They run more than that. But I mean, hey,
I mean, come on, bro. They run
more than 3 routes.
Percentage-wise, they running a lot of, you know what I'm saying?
They don't run the full route tree, but they run more than 3 routes.
Right, so as a receiver yourself, you would think they would be able to hone in on that. Is it? I don't understand
It's the system.
Is it development?
It's the system, Terrell. They're not asked to run all the route tree. So there's certain offense systems that run different routes different than other offenses. There's some that don't run those routes at all. So, I mean, Kelsey Pope is doing what he is told to do within the offense. So,
right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I'm just trying to get some clarity, but I guess you're kind of talking to me like I'm slow or something. But I keep it moving.
What's
wrong?
Have
a good day.
What's wrong with y'all today?
No, don't say y'all.
What's Chabelle? They run more than 3 routes. Do you want me to tell you they run 3 routes to feed into the incorrect answer? Like they run more than 3 routes. Like what should we tell you? You want the truth to be your truth, and that ain't the truth. They run more than 3 routes. Like, oh my goodness! All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Good morning. Hello,
Jay.
Yo, what's up, man?
Hey, y'all. It's Rusty.
What's up, Rusty?
Well, I just want to talk about 2 things that I hate because, there's nothing better than talking about hate instead of talking about love. 2 things that I hate. One is when you're seeing a team's resume and it pops up their ranked wins, top 25 wins, because somehow beating the 22nd best team in the country is so much more than beating the 27th ranked team in the country. We put arbitrary lines in rankings, and somehow it makes teams different when you beat this team, when we all know that the 19th team in the country is probably not much different than the 40th. And if those 2 teams played each other 10 times, it'd probably be 5-5. They're the same teams.
Rusty. 40th.
I mean, it's true.
In 19?
Arkansas versus okay, power rankings right now, Florida's 22. Michigan's like 38 in power ratings. Vegas setting lines.
You said
those
19
teams aren't
40,
very.
but okay.
those teams aren't real different. My point.
Okay.
We make up an arbitrary line, and then it gives you a ranked win.
Okay, I won't hold you up. Go ahead.
And then recruiting rankings and trying to pick difference between the 7th ranked class and the 3rd ranked class or the 4th ranked class when we're talking about a pointing system that these recruiting sites make up. No offense to anybody that works for recruiting sites. I love recruiting sites. I follow recruiting sites, but it's pretty minimal when you start comparing like things like if George McIntyre was a 5-star like he originally was before committing, would that give us more points to pass us to the 5th best team? It's all really, really kind of silly when we think about the rating of classes. And the fact that we're in the playoffs and we haven't recruited much better than this we haven't recruited this well the last 4 or 5 years. And with the influx of the portal. It's all fun. We want to see the kids we get and all that type of stuff, but we're kind of splitting hairs about something that's hard to split hairs about. How do you really compare the 7th ranked class and the 4th ranked class?
You don't think one player makes a difference, Rusty?
Well, one player, yes, players can make a huge difference.
No. You don't think one player makes a difference? Because that could be the difference between being 5th or 7th. LSU got 3 5-stars. Tennessee has 1 5-star. LSU got 18 4-stars, and Tennessee has 15. So, like, A&M has 2 5-stars. Tennessee has 1 5-star. Yeah. So, my question to you is, we don't think that 1 5-star player or 1 really good player can make the difference?
I'm saying, do we think George McIntyre is or isn't a 5-star? And somebody on a scale said the first 6 quarterbacks are 5-stars, and the 7th is only a 4-star. Somehow we deciphered that the first 6 were 5-stars, and the 7th one was a 4-star.
Okay, I get that.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
We're and then you get a bunch more points for being a 5-star that brings your class up. If George McIntyre was a 5-star, just one slot above. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
I do understand that, but my view is I look at where we are in year 4 going on to year 5, and I think Tennessee should be higher.
I get that.
Yeah, and that's it. Higher than 7th in the SEC. Like,
yeah.
How can anyone not agree with that?
I'm not agreeing with you that we shouldn't be higher. I'm just saying that the whole scale we use to rate is kind of flawed, and it's like to me rating classes in recruiting is like picking between teams 18 through 25 in the top 25 or 18 through 30.
Yeah, which is why I said it's not the end all be all, and I take it with a grain of salt. Like
exactly.
That's why I preface my statements by saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm not talking. Believe me, I'm not arguing with the rate, with the B- or any of that stuff. I agree with you totally. I'm talking about people that might be freaking out about it. I don't feel like anybody on this show is freaking out about it. No. I'm just speaking in general. Those type of things just wear me out.
I agree.
I wish we would let this damn playoff committee. I wish we would get rid of this playoff committee and let the people who create power ratings and actually do it for a living, set lines. I wish we'd let them figure out what strength of schedule is, let them figure out what strength of record is, and I wish we would go back to the formula the BCS used, but call it the college football playoff formula, and let them see the teams 1 through 12 or 1 through 16 that way, and get rid of this committee.
Yeah.
Not that I think we're being unfairly treated. I think we're slotted right where we should be based on our resume. I just feel like the committee's a joke. Anyway.
I agree with you, Rusty. I'm on board.
Y'all be good.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Love y'all.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on board, Rusty. I'm right there with you, man. Just like Danny White said, more computer-based system, more objective system. I'm right there. Yep. Like, you always are posting referee rankings and metrics from KenPom and the net rankings, and when the NCAA committee selects their field, they use those metrics, man. They use KenPom. Like, I would love to see football used more of metrics and BCS, determining who does fit into that 12-team playoff using the BCS like they did back in the day. That's what I hope we can do moving forward. I'm on board with Danny White. Took me a while to get it out, but there it is. Tramel. They run more than 3 routes, my man. The reason why the receivers haven't had the success that they've had this year is, number one, personnel-wise, they're not as good as we thought they were individually. Number two, there's too many guys that can do the same thing. Another reason is because they don't run a full complement of routes too. So like, if you're a defense, you don't have to worry about this certain route because like you can automatically eliminate it. So you never have to fear they're going to run a certain route. It didn't matter in 2022 because you had dudes like Tillman. Scratch that. You had NFL receivers. So when you have NFL type of receivers like Gabe Davis, like Cedric Tillman, and they don't have to be first rounders or second rounders or third rounders, hell, they can be borderline free agents. They're still pro receivers. You can get away with that. Like you can get away with not running your full complement of routes. Also, you had a quarterback that was starting for the first time too. So it all factors in together. Offensive line wasn't playing well at one point. You know, kudos to John Campbell, Lance Hurd. They have played better during the course of the season. Like, you got to give them that credit. And when Nico's had time, he's had more success throwing the football. So the reason why I reacted the way I reacted, Tramel, is because you said we run 3 routes. After I told you we run more than 3 routes. Ben, is David Sanders included in our grade to be 10th in the rankings?
Yes, because he is still committed.
I'm going to the good stuff here in the text box. Good morning, fellas. Swain, Ben, what actually happened with Shady? This guy's not following me because he went to Florida, but I want to know why he went from all in to sign with Florida. Well, you can tell the family wasn't too thrilled. If you saw his announcement, Ben, I don't know if you saw it, but his family wasn't too thrilled, and I don't think they were too thrilled about his decision to flip to Florida in the first place. But at the end of the day, it's that young man's decision, and whatever Florida was telling him, he bid it, he bought it.
Yeah, he was all in on what Florida was selling him, and I don't even know that it was very much an NIL thing. I just think he was all in on Florida and didn't really give Tennessee a chance to fight back. He was just, he wanted to be a Gator.
I mean, sometimes you got kids, man, like they have this logo in their head, and their brain is just too strong, man. And the Gators have that luxury. I think teams like USC and Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, they have that luxury, man. It's that brand recognition. Tennessee has that too, but we would be pretty naive to not recognize that Florida has that too, and other teams have that too. And so if he doesn't like it, he can always hit the portal, but he wants to go to Florida. I don't know if there's more money. I try to not dig around and ask about what we offering dudes, what we paying guys. I mean, I find out and here and there, but like, I just do y'all want to know what every player is offered and what every player gets? I mean,
yes, they do.
You do? Do you want to know?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's no different than NFL and all the
See,
professional.
I don't know about
teams.
all the NFL players, but like,
I mean, I don't know either.
But you can look it up.
Like, I would like to be able to pull it up and have access to know, because you can know whether your team is getting their money's worth or not. And I mean, there are contracts that, based on how the player is performing, impacting your organization in a positive or negative way. So I think knowing those things are very beneficial. I realize that the waters are a little murkier with college athletes and young men rather than adults, but yeah, I would like to know those things.
I think it would affect fandom. So, like, if you knew what every player in your football team was making, and that school is telling you, we need you to donate some money, that's going. I mean, that is going to affect your perception of that school and how to manage money. NFL is different because there's a salary cap, and so like that still affects your fandom, because you look at the Cowboys, you're going, what are y'all doing? But you're looking at this program and you're like, what are y'all doing? Paying this guy this amount of money and you're not getting that level of production. But, and maybe I'm behind, but I don't know if I really want to know every single player's bag situation and what they're making and what we offered. Maybe I'll get to that point. Maybe I'm behind, but that's just me for right now.
Well, and I think part of it is also managing NIL and managing contracts, essentially, like they do at the professional level, is such a big part of the success of a college program.
It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it already is like that to a certain extent.
Well, here's the thing that's coming, Ben. So whenever they agree on this number of what each school is going to make, and it's going to be universal, staffs, like they do now, will have to determine how much certain players are worth. But it ain't just the staff in control of that money. It's now staff and administration that have to determine, okay, is this guy with the pot that we have, 22 million, 24 million, is it worth us paying this backup guard this amount of money when he's not playing? Or paying this receiver to come in when he hasn't done anything yet? And different schools are going to move differently. That's what I'm fascinated to see play out. Because when everyone has the same amount of money, how are you going to divvy it up amongst your athletic program or amongst your football team, your basketball team? Like, that's coming.
Yeah, and I mean, they're already doing a lot of that now based off of positions, and especially on the football field. And I know basketball is the same way. You have to be very thorough in making these decisions. And from the outside looking in, especially as a media member, where it's my job to assess the job that the program is doing overall, like how they are operating as a business and these decisions that they are making financially, like it plays a part in how successful they are on the field and on the court. So even from that perspective, I would like to know, okay, did Tennessee make the right decision to give this player this amount of money? Or were they incorrect in not being willing to give this player that goes elsewhere this amount of money? The same thing we do with professional athletes. It has evaluating front offices is part of sports, and it's coming to college athletics and is already partly there. And I would like to know from that standpoint as well, to be able to evaluate the organizations and how they are making decisions.
Man, boy, if y'all knew how much some of these dudes was being paid that didn't do anything, man,
it would make y'all mad.
Make you real mad. So that's why I say, Do you really want to know?
It probably depends on the school. I mean, right now it feels like, I mean, they're of course not going to be perfect. There's always going to be somebody making more than they should, or making more than their production on the field would indicate. It's no different than professional sports, right? But it would certainly rub people the wrong way for some of these guys. And I think the biggest change would be in the criticism. I think that's where you would see the biggest change.
Exactly.
And, some people would really cross the line and go out of bounds, like we see with professional sports. No different.
No, spot on, man. Spot on. So that's why I'm like, you really want to know? Green Act says, was that really Mincy at the concession stand last weekend? I mean, looked like him in the picture.
Oh, it was him.
Allegedly? Was it allegedly him, or was it him?
I mean, there were several Kentucky media members tweeting about it, and not a single one of them said that it wasn't him. They all said it was Gerald Mincy. And if that was not Gerald Mincy, then he has a twin out there that he does not know about.
Ben McKee. You know how many F's you have to not have to go to the concession stand as a player during the game?
It's a different level of not giving a you know what than I can imagine. I just cannot imagine having the thought to not only having the thought to go to the concession stand, but then actually doing it.
So, like, when I make decisions, most of the time I think about, okay, and I've gotten better at this. Like, we all have, right? That's part of maturity, getting older. Like, we were younger, we would make compulsive decisions and do compulsive things and not think about, like, the ramifications or the consequences. But, like, now I'm like, yo, if I say this is probably going to happen, so I ain't going to say this. Or if I do this, this is what potentially can happen, so I'm not going to do this. Did Jerry Mincy not think to himself, if I want to play football after this year, I probably shouldn't go to the concession stands in the middle of a game? At any level.
His eligibility was up, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh?
I think he's out of eligibility.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, you said if he wants to play college football beyond this season.
No, play football, period. Period.
Yeah, as
CFL,
if he didn't already have enough red
UFL,
flags.
XFL, NFL,
Right.
any L. Like,
Right.
And he just took one.
Yeah.
You gonna go to the concession stands during the that's no different than what Antonio Brown did his last game in the NFL. My man took his clothes off and walked out during the game. That's what Gerald Mincy just did. I'm done with football. I'm done with football. That's what Gerald Mincy did. Concession stands during the game, man. Woo!
He would have been better off to go to just leave the stadium and
go get your own snacks. Go home, get your own snacks.
Yes. Nobody would have taken a picture of him, more than likely. You're less likely to get your picture taken if you leave the stadium and go through a drive-through somewhere than to go to the concession stand. And then nobody knows about it because nobody, when you're ruled out the way that Gerald Mincy was, nobody's thinking about you during the game, after the game. And even if they are thinking of you after the game, then you have the built-in excuse of, oh, I left as soon as the game was over. And nobody's going to be mad at you for that or say anything to you about that, especially given your career at Kentucky is done. So it's just, it's mind-numbing. But I cannot express to you how little I was shocked when I saw that. I was not surprised at all.
You wasn't shocked
when I saw that tweet.
Man, you wasn't shocked that bruh went to the concession stands during the game. How can you say that? You've never seen that before.
But if there's somebody to do it, it would be Gerald Mincy.
If you're a Kentucky football fan, listen, I'm not
They were mad. You talk about You posed the question of, do fans want to know about the exact NIL details? Kentucky fans may not know the exact NIL details for Gerald Mincey, but they know that Kentucky spent a lot of money on Gerald Mincey last offseason, and that they were hot when they saw that tweet going around because they know how much NIL was invested to Gerald Mincey, and that's what he's doing during the game.
I kind of feel bad for Kentucky fans.
I don't.
Here's why. I have a heart, first of all. You should try.
I don't, apparently, because I'm the Grinch and think that B- is the absolute worst thing on the planet, although I never said that. So I don't have a heart.
Listen, this is why I feel bad for Kentucky fans. As I laugh. All your good players hitting the portal. You had a player go to the concession stands during the game. The type of drama that went on this season for Kentucky football, you can say it went on for Tennessee in 2017. What was the result of that season? Did that coach come back
in the locker room?
Did that coach come back in 2017? No. That coach was fired by an AD who did not want to make a change in his first year as AD. He said he didn't want to fire a coach. He did not want to make a change. But it was so bad in the locker room. Butch Jones got fired in 2017. Y'all, Mark Stoops, his media availability told y'all to your face, Kentucky fans, I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right here. Basically, you can't do nothing to me. I wish you would. You got to pay me a whole lot of money. You can't do nothing. I'm your all-time winningest coach. You were nothing before me. And yeah, I messed up this season, but you can't do anything about it. Our NIL sucks, and I'll be back next year. So now what? What you gonna do about it? Now, Kentucky fans, they could do something about it. They could just stop going to the games. And that would make a huge impression. But the things that went on in Kentucky this year usually gets coaches fired.
Yeah, I mean, they can't fire him because his buyout is
That's what I'm saying.
Outrageous.
That's what I'm saying.
If it, yeah, for sure. If it wasn't what it was, then he would absolutely. Well, I don't know. I think he would get a chance to come back, but he would be on very, very, very thin ice just because of what he has done a lot there by Kentucky football standards.
He tried to leave last year.
Well, I know.
He tried to leave, and the only reason he came back is because the A&M people didn't want him.
Right.
So
but
he already told y'all he don't want to be there.
I get it, but if you're Kentucky, you still can't fire him.
I know. That's why I feel bad for Kentucky fans. Because you have a coach who doesn't want to be there. The team went out there and laid an egg this season. You got players going to concession stands. You got some of your best players hitting the portal, and you can't do anything about it. Dude. Imagine if Butch Jones came back in 2018, how apathetic we would be as a fan base after everything that happened that 17 season. That's what Kentucky fans will have to deal with this upcoming season. That's why I feel bad for them.
I don't. They're the worst fan base on Twitter, and their media members are.
I feel bad for them, man. I do, man. Oh.
I hope none of them get what they're asking for Christmas. I hope they all get like the fifth thing on the Christmas list and none of the top four things. Their fan base is the worst, and so are their media members. But what's funny is the Gerald Mincey thing the last week is not even the most embarrassing thing to happen to them this week.
Are you talking about the Clemson basketball game?
Mm-mm.
It's more?
Vince Morrow was this close to taking a job at Louisville.
Really?
Vince, you missed this?
No, I saw where he said he wasn't. I saw where Kentucky folks said he wasn't gone, but I didn't think it was that serious.
It's Sunday. I think it was Monday. He was very close to taking a job at Louisville. Do you know how hypocritical Vince Morrow would have looked and how foolish and silly and outrageous it would have been for Vince Morrow after all the talking he has done to other fan bases, to his own fan base, to take the Louisville job? And I mean, it was like, it was down to the 11th hour. I mean, he was very close to taking that job. That tells you all you need to know about where the Kentucky football program is at the moment. Not Gerald Mincy, not the fact that if you looked at a Kentucky media member's Twitter yesterday, every 30 minutes they were posting about another player entering the portal, or you had
receiver coach hit the portal too.
He hit the portal to Nebraska.
Yeah,
you going to Nebraska as if that. I mean, I'd rather be at Nebraska than Kentucky, but still, it's not the '90s Nebraska Cornhuskers. You had the receiver coach dip after 1 year. You had the younger brother of one of the prominent players on the team decommit and flip before signing day. It's none of that. If you need to know anything about where Kentucky's football program is at, just follow the Vince Morrow storyline. That tells you all you need to know.
Man. See, that's why I feel bad. I feel bad.
I guess we're not crowning Kentucky basketball the national champs anymore. Well, the first couple of weeks of the season, Mark Pope was National Coach of the Year. Kentucky had won the national championship. I guess we're not doing that after they were one of two teams, including Auburn, to lose in the SEC ACC Challenge.
Could be my team. Could be my team. Now, Duke played well, man. That's a hard place to play. Duke played well. Auburn's good. They're gonna be beating a lot of teams. It's just a joke. Kentucky's gonna be good this year. I like their style of play. I like their mentality. I like Mark Pope, honestly, but seeing them be the only team to lose in SEC was funny up until Auburn lost to Duke. But that lines up everything for Tennessee to be ranked number 1 in the country in the next release of the basketball polls, because Kansas lost to Creighton, and then Auburn lost to Duke. So Tennessee's number 3, moving on up to the east side.
Yeah, and what's cool about it this time around is that they play at Madison Square Garden on Tuesday night, and they'll be playing in Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball, as the number 1 team in the country. That's a pretty cool storyline right there.
Zakai, behave, Zakai. You go back to New York, behave. Nah, I'm just joking, man. I love messing with Zakai. That's my guy, man. That's my guy, man. I love me some Zakai. Dude, this basketball team. I was willing to step out on the limb early. I think you were too. I thought this roster would be better than last year's roster with the addition of Chaz Lanier. Man, oh man. Woo! We are a problem. I love it.
Yeah, and not enough people are talking about Igor Milicic. That guy is a stud.
He is a stud.
He's a difference maker.
You know what I want to see though? It's not me being nitpicky here, because it's not a criticism. I do want to see Jamal Mayshak shoot it when he's open more.
Yeah, I do too.
Because my man made more threes than anybody else in the offseason, shot the ball great in the offseason, put the work in to improve his shot. I just want to see the fruits of the labor. That's all. That's all, man. I just want to see the fruits of his labor. I've seen his shot improve so much, his free throws. Remember his early career? He missed some free throws in the postseason. He's improved his shot. It looks totally revamped. It looks better. I want to see him take those shots when he's open. That's all. That's my only desire. It's not even a critique. It's just I just want to see him shoot the ball when he's open more. That's all.
No, I'm with you. The other night was weird. He just didn't. He seemed to be subbed out longer than usual, and I don't know. Maybe the other night was just a bit of an off night for him. He still had an impact on the game defensively, of course.
Always.
But I feel like he's been shooting it more than he has in the past, but still not to the level that he should be, or as often as he should be. To your point, I would like to see him shoot it more as well. But that's it's funny that we talk about it in this manner, but it's always the problem with Rick Barnes's program. Every year, every team, they're too unselfish. They prefer to make the extra pass than to be the one that shoots the basketball.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that on this team. You don't see it with the players like Chaz Lanier and Dalton Connect, the transfers who did not develop within the program, but the players they sign out of high school and develop over 2, 3, 4 years, they always would prefer to make the extra pass rather than shoot it. And it's funny that we talk about it in that manner, but they're too unselfish at times.
No complaints, no criticisms. It's just preferences. I just want to see Jemiah shoot open shots more. That's all.
Would you give the basketball team a C+ for the job that they're doing right now?
A+.
C+ is
A+.
Are good.
A+.
I love
undefeated, about to be number 1 team in the country, number 1 net ranking, top 5 in defense, top 5 in offense. A+.
I love how I'm just the worst person ever.
There's a lot of people that agree with you, Ben. Stop.
Let me get this on my chest.
Go ahead.
I love how I'm just an evil person for not being satisfied with a B-, yet I'm the one sitting here trying to give the recruiting class a B+ for being in the top 10. Tell me how that works. Am I too harsh or am I too soft? Which one am I?
I personally think you're being a little too soft.
That's fine. And I'm typically more of a glass half full person than I am a glass half empty person.
Don't even try that. Don't even try that. You ain't slick.
Oh,
you trying to say I'm glass half empty?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
Okay.
I'm really not. But I was actually it can be a flaw of mine at times that I am too optimistic. I give people too much of the benefit of the doubt, and maybe I'm doing that now. I can be too soft at times, contrary to popular belief on this morning's show.
Yeah, I just didn't think B- was all that bad. I just think we can be better.
Again, I don't think it is bad. If my kid comes home with a B-, I'm not gonna punish them, or they're not gonna be in trouble. I'm not gonna be displeased. I will be pleased with a B-.
But you're gonna ask them what?
Have a conversation. Huh?
But you're gonna say what?
But what can we do to be better next semester?
And that's what I'm doing with Tennessee football recruiting.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. I'm leaving myself some room.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with your B- grade. I gave it a B+.
Okay, what would you give last year's recruiting class that was
number 13?
14th. Okay, well, you guys have 14th in the country. 14th in the country and 8th in the SEC.
B-. I mean, it's practically the same grade or practically the same class to a certain extent. A couple more high-level players.
See, I look at this was the class. Last year's class was the class after 22. Why are we 8th in the SEC? That's how my mind is wired. You know what I'm saying?
That's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. But I also think it's again, my B+ is not based off of them being ranked number 10 in the recruiting rankings. That has a little bit to do with it, but like I said earlier, I think they're bringing in a lot of good players across the board, and I think they addressed the vast majority of their needs with talented prospects. And based off of that view, not based off of solely the recruiting ranking, I think they did a very good job in that B+ range, which is how I get to my B+. Not what it needs to be. There's room for improvement, but the way I look at it, and I think somebody said this earlier on the text box, is like growing up in grade school, there weren't only 5 people that were allowed to have A's. There were as many people as there could be that could earn A's in the class if they earned it. Or even B. There wasn't a rule that said only 10 people can have B's. Only 5 people can have B's. So, like, is 7th in the SEC where you want to be? No, you should strive to be better. But 7th in a 16-team league also is not bad. And even if you are 7th, because recruiting can be so fickle, and to kind of Rusty's point, it can be splitting hairs at times. Like 7th may sound worse than it actually is.
No, yeah. It's not bad. It's good. But when I look at the teams who are consistently in the top 3, and I know we have beaten one of those teams that has consistently been in the top 3. We've beaten them 2 out of the last 3 seasons. But they have won multiple championships in the last decade. And then the other one has won 2 championships in the last, 4 years? And every time we play Georgia, personnel-wise, we don't match up. So excuse me if I'm like, hey, we need to get closer to them dudes up there to be able to match up better.
You're absolutely right.
That's
Tennessee baseball closed the gap on LSU and Vanderbilt because they were recruiting neck and neck. I had this conversation with somebody in the baseball program middle of last month. I was joking with them that it seemed like every recruit, not literally, but the vast majority of the recruits that Tennessee baseball hosted on visits throughout this fall, it came down to LSU or Tennessee. And Tennessee won 50-50, won its fair share of the battles. LSU won its fair share of the battles. And who are the last 2 teams that have won national championships? LSU and Tennessee. So in football terms, like, Tennessee needs to be winning more battles against the Georgias of the world. I know it's really difficult. It is really difficult to beat Georgia on the recruiting trail right now, especially with how much you want to live in Georgia, in the Atlanta area as well. But if you can find a way to win 2 to 3 more battles a class with Georgia, now it appears Florida is going to be a thorn in your side with the way that they've closed out the class. If you can find a way to win more of those recruiting battles against those schools, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas, like, you're going to find yourself having a chance to win a national championship every single season.
Yeah, Florida should be recruiting the way they are, but hey, kudos to Bill Napier. He has always been known as a good recruiter.
Yes.
But
now that he's got the resources, they weren't giving him any resources to recruit to begin with this season, and that's why his class started to fall apart. And now they've given him the resources back now that they're not going to spend the money on the buyout, and look what they've been able to do to close out the early signing period.
Yeah, so good class. It can always be better. Now it comes down to development. So you got to do a good job there. So
my very last point, and I'll be very quick about it, is you have to develop, and I know there's some questions at certain positions about development, but big picture, when you look at the program overall, Tennessee has been in this recruiting rankings, in this range the last couple of years, and overall, from top to bottom, they have done a good job of developing, and they have a chance to go win a national championship this year. So still room to be better, but they are bringing in talented prospects. They are developing them more than they are not, and they have already given themselves a chance to win a national championship. So there is some optimism there as well.
For sure. Yeah. Spot on. Yep. You wouldn't be in this position if you were not developing.
Yeah.
Could it be better?
1,000%.
Yeah, but like you didn't get here by accident. Like, you got here because you did a good job of recruiting and developing. But is the goal just to do a good job, or is the goal to get over the top? We know the goal.
The goal is to be elite.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Jennifer Morris is elite, and she has always developed and recruited at a high level. And she can't make heads or tails out of the playoff situation, but she can help you manage the process of buying or selling your home. Those numbers make sense to work with Jennifer Morris because she will help you accomplish everything you would like to accomplish in real estate. Jennifer Morris of Keller Williams Realty. She is the absolute best. And shout out to Kim Caldwell. I don't know if you said that off the top before I joined, but shout out to Kim Caldwell.
I did. Yeah. I was there at the game last night. I gave love to the team, up 20 points. battled back. Old girl from Florida State damn near dropped 40 on us. She was in her bag. But we were able to withstand. These a lot of girls who were playing together for the first time this season in a brand new system. So that was a big test that they were able to ace last night versus Florida State, a team that coming into the game was, I want to say, leading the country in scoring, and Tennessee was second. And so Tennessee was able to outgun the Florida State team. And Ray Burrell was in attendance too.
How was the atmosphere? It looked good on TV.
It was good for a Wednesday night 7:15 game.
Fair enough.
It'll be better as Tennessee continues to improve and prove that they're legit. It'll be better.
That looked like Lady Vols basketball. Tough, gritty, battling through adversity when they blew the lead and just finding a way to win.
Yeah, 100%. All right, for Ben McKee, Go Vols 247, I'm Jason Swain. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical right now. So awesome promotions going on when you buy a select HVAC unit, $500, a Visa gift card, or a new whole home generator. When you buy a new tankless water heater, $250 Visa gift card. I got Hiller coming to the house again today. Yeah, man, we got some things to look at to prevent worse things happening. We addressed the issue that was a big issue on Tuesday, but we addressed that. They did a good job of fixing it. Now it's about making sure that there's no bigger problem. So that's what today's appointment with Hiller is all about. Looking forward to that. It's part of being a homeowner. That's why you need to have people that you trust come out to your house like Hiller. All right, Ben. No game this weekend. I'll see you around the basketball game. Whenever that.
Yeah. You going to Madison Square Garden?
Nah, I'll let you fly private with the team and do all that. I'll be right here.
Well, enjoy your weekend off. I know I'm going to.
Yeah, I know that's right. All right, peace and love, everybody. We are out. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.